my wife just sent me a message saying, can you tell Dad that he's got to sort out his own dinner? And I'm like, yep, once I get out of the podcast.
Yep.
And knowing that I was in the podcast, so she replied to me and went, sorry, didn't realise you were in the podcast. And of course, so I get another bing off my laptop. I'm like...
Welcome to GCP Life, episode number 47 for the 25th of August, 2023. GCP Life is sponsored by Kasna. At Kasna, we make your Google Cloud solutions possible. And I'm your host, Stephen Bancroft. On today's show, security, and more security. Managed Prometheus and H3 VMs. Plus, corporates start to use AI in the AI wars. But before we get to any of that, I'd like to introduce the co-host of the show, Ian Brown. How you going, Ian?
I'm good, Banky. How you doing, buddy?
Good, mate. Good. I just feel I'm getting better and better at those intros. Just kicked that one out of the park that time.
Yeah, that was good.
Good. What have you been up to during the fortnight since we last spoke?
Well, I've been doing
we speak all the time, but
I know. Since we last spoke, which is about 2 minutes ago. No, I've been doing some Apogee X training this week.
Right.
So one of the guys here at Kasna has asked me to do the Apogee X training, so I got stuck into that, and I've also been contributing a little bit to the cockpit project.
Right. Couple of PRs there, I think you mentioned.
Yeah. I've got. I think this is the third one that I've got in. So yeah, let's hope they all get pulled in and merged into main, and then we'll pick up something new tomorrow.
Yeah, right. And you are a Red Hat developer, is that right?
No, I am indeed.
Yeah, right. So what do they give you? What are the benefits when you've got that?
There's a heap of benefits to it. So you get OpenShift access for nothing. It's a basic OpenShift stuff. But you also get a copy of Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So
nice.
I'm currently running on my laptop RHEL 9. Yep. It's RHEL 9.2 or 9.3 now. I can't even remember.
Right, because you kind of need that to develop, right?
Well, you don't really, but in my experience on my laptop, my very specific Lenovo ThinkPad or IdeaPad or whatever it is, I found that Fedora doesn't, it crashes fairly frequently, and
right.
You just can't have that. So RHEL actually works flawlessly on it. So I just went, I'll install RHEL and we'll use that, and I haven't had a problem since.
Yeah, they've ironed out all the bugs in RHEL.
Yeah. I mean, Pipewire was a pain with Fedora. I had to put custom config into it, and every time it did an update, it used to brick all that config, and I'd have to do it all over again, and yeah, it was just a nightmare.
Yeah, right. I can't say I'm not the biggest Red Hat user. I've been more sort of the Debian and Ubuntu guy over the years. But I might give it a go one day.
Yeah, look, it was really easy to get started. I just jumped over to the Red Hat developers page and signed up there,
right.
And I contribute to some of their stuff. So I actually decided this today. I was having a bit of a read, and I decided I'm gonna fork the Anaconda project and start contributing to that as well. So Anaconda is the installer. Yep.
I had heard about Anaconda. I think I pointed out to you, I had looked at the list of Debian abandoned projects, and there's quite a few of them.
Oh, there's heaps.
And kicking around the idea of maybe getting involved with, being a maintainer for some of those packages, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to help.
Yeah. But other than that, I've not had much in the way of tech adventures. Of course, as we've discussed, I am moving house, and so it's all been about that, cleaning up. I just had a guy come and pick up a big pile of rubbish from all the stuff we've cleaned out here, collecting boxes and just going through all those movements, to get everything done. Haven't got this place on the market just yet, but we've got all the ducks in the row to make all that happen. So
nice.
Yeah. And I'm thinking about my new studio space too, where I will be recording from. So that'll be good.
Happy.
And of course, don't forget, our listeners should know we've got Next coming up, Next 2023. That'll be August 29 to 31st. So I think we'll try and have a little wrap up about that in the next show.
Yeah, well, and because Simon and Troy and Adish are over in San Fran for that.
That's right. We have some Casnians going to that. That's right. And we'll see how we go. We might get one of them on the show. That's probably a good idea.
Yeah,
and then they can give us a little summary of what's happened, how it went. And of course, GCP Life Live. We had the announcement last week on the show about GCP Life Live. We announced it internally in Casna as well. And you, if you're eagle-eyed, you would have seen a post on my socials on LinkedIn about that as well, and a couple of us shared that's out as well. So make sure you lock in that date, 6th of October, GCP Life Live. Just look on my LinkedIn feed. You'll find the details for that. And there'll be some cross-posts coming out as well over the next few weeks. So hopefully we get some traction with that.
Yeah, definitely.
Other than that, I don't know. Should we get on with the rest of the show?
I think so.
All right. Let's get on with the news items. And we thought we'd kick this week's off by looking at a few new Google features. And Ian, you're always bringing these Google features up. You know, look at this latest thing, latest and greatest. And this first one is improved cost visibility and 60% price drop for managed service for Prometheus.
Yeah. And I need to point out, this happens when you're sitting on the bench and you've got a lot of time to read.
Unlike me that was reading articles 5 minutes before we went to air.
Yeah, that's it.
So now, look, I've got an admission. Other than not being the biggest user of Kubernetes, I don't even really think I've used this before. So what's this all about?
Really?
Ian?
You haven't used Prometheus?
No.
Oh, right. Okay. So Prometheus is like a let's call it a monitoring system for various things. You can really pump all sorts of data into Prometheus. And for some time now, Kubernetes has had a managed Prometheus monitoring backend.
Right.
But Google has now decided that they're going to reduce the cost of it by about 60%, which is huge.
What? Like, what's brought this on? Like, why would they suddenly do this?
To be honest,
it doesn't say, does it?
It doesn't say in the article, and I'm really not sure. Maybe it's they've optimized the backends that do this, and it's costing them a lot less to realize than they initially thought. But it is a considerable saving.
Does now companies of all shapes and sizes can get global observability as a service without having to excessively filter or drop metrics to keep costs down.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the table that's on this article, it's phenomenal. So the first sample size you look at is like up to 50 billion samples, which is, you think about that and go 50 billion. That's a lot of billions. It really is. Yeah, exactly. More billions are better. That's a lot of samples, but you got to think that Kubernetes generates a lot of data. Like when it's just running pods and daemon sets and all that, it generates a lot of information.
A lot of metrics there.
Yeah. And one thing I didn't know is that Google actually doesn't run this. So once upon a time, you used to run Prometheus. It used to use like InfluxDB, which is a time series database. Google's built their own. It's called Monarch.
Right.
And there's a in this article, there's actually the Google research paper that links to Google's Monarch time series database, and gives you a bit of information about it. And you can read all about how Monarch works and how they distribute it across the globe and all that sort of stuff. But it's a complete in-memory time series database.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Monarch is a globally distributed in-memory time series database system in Google. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so it's really cool. They've got a whole heap of free cloud monitoring system metrics. The article here quotes 1,500 or over 1,500 free cloud monitoring system metrics, queryable using PromQL, which is Prometheus's query language. Horizontally scalable managed collectors built into GKE, so you don't have to worry about, now I've got to put this extra plugin into GKE in order to get metrics out. It's literally there. You can do it straight out of the box. You can add manage Prometheus to an existing cluster. There is ways to do that. And it's all open telemetry based collection. So if you're using some third party open telemetry tooling, you can plug that in as well.
Right. What about with Anthos?
I would assume that it would work with Anthos. I mean, Anthos is running GKE.
Exactly. So when I get my bare metal GKE node spun up, I could potentially use this to monitor it, right?
You could use open telemetry and then pipe that directly into cloud monitoring too.
I could do that as well. Whoa. The possibilities are endless. All right. Possibilities are endless. I'm looking forward to playing that. But yes, unfortunately, I'm going to be quite time poor over the next few months. And I can't see that happening for a little bit. But I'm very excited to have a tinker with that. And it's going to be cheap. And like 1,500 free cloud monitoring metrics. So is this these are in Prometheus, these 1,500 metrics?
This is in cloud monitoring. So
there's
1,500 available or free metrics that you can query inside of cloud monitoring specifically for GKE.
Right. Okay. That part I get. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It gives you an idea of how much data GKE generates.
All right. Very cool. Clearly, encouraging people to use this for some reason. Competitiveness. I don't know, security, I guess.
It could be.
Like you said, there probably comes they want to make things as cheap as possible. And if they've come up with some way of optimizing the way this runs, then why not make it cheap as possible?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, moving on then. Introducing H3 Compute optimized VMs for high performance computing, HPC. We love a bit of HPC. And these are based on Intel's 4th generation Xeon platform, Sapphire Rhodes. H3 VMs deliver higher performance and lower cost to HPC users. Get this, H3 offers up to 3 times improvement per node performance, improved scalability for multi-workloads, and up to 2 times better price performance. So it's quicker and cheaper.
Yep. Oh, yeah, heaps. I love it because it's using custom Intel chip, so the Xeon Sapphire Rapids chip.
Yep.
So the networking is built for the H3 VM is built on Google's custom Intel Infrastructure Processing Unit, or IPU, that powers their 3rd gen VMs. And the Google's IPU includes offloaded networking stack and programmable packet processing engine that enables high levels of networking performance, isolation, and security. And it offers up to 200 gig a second default low latency networking, which is twice the previous generation.
Yep. Now, H3, it's available in public preview currently for compute and Kubernetes, and you can get 88 cores.
Wow.
Right. 88 cores. Now, that's with SMT disabled. I wonder why they turn off the hyperthreading. It's interesting. And 352 gigabytes of memory. 352 gigabytes. Because if you're training your large language model, this is what you need, right?
Yeah.
That's some big numbers. The article goes on, or the article link in the show notes is quite in-depth and goes on for a while. Gives you some graphs on the H3 versus the C2, which is the previous generation. And you can easily see there 2 to 3 times easy.
Let's tell you, there's something interesting that caught my eye in this article, and something that I didn't think about at all until I was reading through this this morning. So when you think about Google's data centers, you think, rightio, they've got. Let's go with hundreds of racks in a data center, and they're putting compute in there all over the place, and it's just sort of whatever they need goes into that rack whenever they need it. But one of the paragraphs in here sort of made me question that a little bit. So it says the H3 machines also put compact placements and are deployed in large, dense pools to reduce latency and network jitter. So they must have a special section in the data center where these H3 machines reside so that they're all right next to each other.
Yep. To reduce the latency between them.
Yeah, it was something that I hadn't considered before I'd read this. I was just like, my thinking on it was, rightio, well, they need these types of VMs, so they just throw them in a rack, and then the next week they need a different type of VM in there or machine in there, so they throw them in the open space they've got. But yeah,
speed of light, right? So I mean, you got to be as close as possible.
Well, yeah. I don't think it's going to care walking across a data center.
Well, I mean, Google seems to think so. They put them next to each other.
That's it. But it was just something that I hadn't considered before, and it made me question, okay, maybe there's more organization to this than what it appears on the surface.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, routing would be definitely a factor, right? You want to try and stay in layer 2 the whole way through. Now, if you are on a different floor or a different building, you may be hopping up to layer 3 and then there'll definitely be some latency introduced. So I'm just reading the compact placement policy. Use compact policies when you want VMs to be located close to each other for low network latencies between your VMs. So that's implying they are all going to be on the same layer 2.
Yeah.
In reading between the lines.
Yeah.
Which definitely would reduce latency. So there you go. We now have even faster machines. I remember talking about C3, C2, not even 12 months ago now.
Oh, yeah.
And now that's old gen.
Yeah, that's old school.
Now we've got H3.
I think we were talking about C2Ds or something. Was it last episode or the episode before? We were talking about C2Ds for something, and I was like, these things are amazing, and then H3s are out, and it's like, yeah, it's old school. It's so 1980s.
That's right. All right, let's move on. Let's leave the features behind for a bit, and let's just shift gears and move into some security articles, because we've got quite a few security items on our card here today. And the first one is Google Chrome to shield encryption keys from promised quantum computers. Now, Google has started to deploy a hybrid key encapsulation mechanism, a KEM, to protect the sharing of symmetric encryption secrets during the establishment of secure TLS network connections. And the KEM is quantum proof.
Right. What does that exactly mean, though, quantum proof?
Quantum proof. So let's break this down here. The Google browser will include support for, now stay with me here, Ian. It'll include support for the X25519 Kyber 768 encryption scheme. X25519 Kyber 768 encryption scheme. Now it's that particular term is a concatenation of X25519, which is an elliptic curve algorithm. It's that's currently used in key arrangements. That's used for TLS connections now.
Yeah, so that's similar to the E25519 keys that we generate for SSH.
That's right, right. So this is a version for TLS, the symmetric keys that are used in a TLS connection, right? Now, the interesting bit is the Kyber 768. Now, this is a quantum-resistant KEM, right, that last year won the NIST's blessing for post-quantum cryptography. So what they're doing is they're encapsulating X25519 in this Kyber 768 chem.
Yeah, right.
Right. So the idea is that you can't use a quantum computer to decrypt the chem, because X25519, you theoretically could use a quantum computer to decrypt that the TLS connection, but because it's wrapped in a chem, which is Cyber 768, the quantum computer can't open the chem.
Right.
Right. That's the theory behind it.
Right. Okay. So yeah, because it's like I had a read of this article and like it goes right in depth about how this all works. It's fantastic. It was interesting. Like a chem is a way to establish a shared secret between two parties, so they can communicate using symmetric key encryption. Wowzers, tongue tied today.
Yeah, and that's the precursor to the TLS handshake that happens when an HTTPS connection is set up, for instance, right? Now, they say in this article, and this is just so typical, there's a belief that quantum computers can break modern classical cryptography won't arrive for 5 to 10 years, possibly even 50.
Yeah.
Right? So why is it important to start now? Well, you know, these things move at glacial speeds. So now I did read in this article that this is a trial at the moment. It's been pushed out to some users of Chrome, and they have found problems with it.
Okay.
And that is in some of the appliances that are like the man in the middle for TLS connections. They have hardwired, encryption buffer sizes, right? Because to do it at the right speed that they need to do it, it's all done with ASIC.
Yeah.
Right. And this breaks some of the ASIC that's needed to manage those TLS connections.
Are you telling me that banks who are doing man-in-the-middle attacks on their own people and their own networks with their next-generation firewalls will be thwarted by this?
Yeah. Funny that.
Oh, good.
So it's interesting to see that this is actually happening, even though quantum computing, it's exciting and there's a lot of potential, but it's taken a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So this article does mention in June this year, IBM researchers published a study in Nature that claimed a 127-bit qubit processor set loose in a particular physics problem can, with sufficient error mitigation, outperform a classical computer. If confirmed by other researchers, the results suggest quantum computers have a path forward, right? Even though it has taken a long while, there is a way forward. But there have been other circumstances where they've done a demonstration with current computing, and classical computing just beats it to the ground. Yeah. So
I mean,
it's yet to be proofed out, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's one of those things that is once upon a time when AI was first getting bounced around, everybody was like, oh yeah, no, it'll never take off. And that's the same with quantum computing. Like, it's going to take a while to get to the point where we've got the technology available to actually build a quantum computer without requiring it to run at like 0 Kelvin. But it'll happen eventually.
We covered an article on one of the very first episodes of GCP Life where we talked about this Australian company building a drop-in quantum card, much like a GPU would drop into a computer. And they used a different approach with like a matrix, a crystal matrix with an evacuation in the middle that represented the qubit. I'd have to go back and read the article now to see how it all hung together. But they're really got some promising technology around being actually able to do this, and they have a prototype of it as well.
Cool.
So, it could just be, I mean, we've got to prepare for this because it could just be overnight, bang, suddenly everyone's buying quantum computer cards that drop into their machine, and your classical machine has availability to several qubits, to do and you've got a Python library that uses it, and you're away.
Python. What can you not use it for?
What can you not use it for? So, we're getting this. It's starting to happen. Google have got these quantum encryption keys, and we'll see what happens. But moving on with security news, Google has also launched Chronicle CyberShield to help government agencies tackle threats. What's this all about, Ian?
Yeah, mate, this is an interesting one. So governments typically face a diverse set of challenges and threats, which we all know. Like every government is under attack by pretty much every other government out there. And as we know in Australia, our government stores a large amount of data on us. You've only got to have a look at like my health record and your driver's license and all of the information that Centrelink carries on you and the tax office carries on you. So they're a huge target. So Chronicle CyberShield, the primary component of it is establishing a modern government security operations center comprising a network of interconnected security operations centers to scale and aggregate security threats. So the whole idea of it is to gain data from a whole heap of different security centers and pull that into one space that can assist the government in detecting and remediating threats on their own infrastructure.
Right. And is this appears as a dashboard or something, or is this something that's in Chronicle?
Well, look, the article doesn't exactly say that I can see in there. I would assume that it is something that just appears in the Chronicle seam.
Right. And they're surfacing all this data for you, are they?
It does appear so. So it says here, the solution allows governments to build a coordinated monitoring capability with Chronicle SIEM to simplify threat detection, investigation, and hunting with the intelligence, speed, and scale of Google. By implementing Chronicle across a network of SOCs, or security operations centers, attack patterns and correlated threat activity across multiple entities are available for investigation and analysis. So I suppose the benefit of that is not only do you have the SIEM component, which is the component that detects the risk or evaluates the risk, but you've also got Chronicle SOAR, which is the automated response component. So you can write a playbook to automatically mitigate an attack.
Yeah, and that's a bit that caught my attention. With Chronicle Shield, governments can agree on pre-established terms and conditions for incident management and response support from Mandy and Google Cloud stated. So, they can have it all set up, how they're going to respond, and they've got a preset plan in place to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, so one of the other things that it says here in this article is with the digital security component of Chronicle CyberShield, governments can integrate with existing solutions and build anti-DDoS, anti-bot, web application firewall, and API protection to protect against new and existing threats. So it really is one of those...
It's using Cloud Armor.
It'd be using Cloud Armor in the background, So it's another one of those must-haves for not just governments, but for businesses that hold personally identifiable information on the citizens of the country.
Yeah, we know Cloud Armor can be dynamic and can automatically protect against DDoS attacks and the like. So it would be integrating with that, but pulling in the data from already existing government SOCs.
Yeah, really, really cool development on Google's part here. This is a really good step forward to protect Australians, at least, from the myriad of hackers that seem to be targeting us.
My goodness, there's so many at the moment.
Oh, we
actually had to take some out.
Yeah,
we actually had to take some out. Speaking of that, hackers claim to have breached auDA.
Yeah, poor old auDA. So yeah, look, this. I was saying to you the other day because there's a follow up to this story.
There is,
you know, like
let's just talk about the apparent breach first, so then we'll get on to the
apparent breach. They learnt about a breach last Friday. They began working with industry experts to investigate the claim that some cyber criminal, who isn't named in this article, by the way, has provided evidence of a small sample of data they say is in their possession. It includes screenshots of a file list on a computer. They say here their investigation remains ongoing, including to verify the cyber criminal's claims and provenance of that data. And the criminals...
They claim to have access to 15 gig
Yep.
of the organisation's data, which includes powers of attorney, legal docs, passports, personal data, medical records, loan repayments, death certificates, custom bank account details, etc.
Now,
it's a lot.
This is a lot. My first question when I read this article was, why would the Australian Domain Administration have powers of attorney, passports, medical records, loan repayment information, death certificate? Why? Why would they need any of this information? So
this is true. Why would they have that?
Yeah. So, look, as it turns out, earlier this week, they came out and said, yep, we weren't breached. Go away. Not our problem.
And what's the rule? What's the rule?
The rule is the minute you dismiss it is when it turns really, really bad. But they say the source of the data breach was an Australian sole trader. Now,
this is getting on to the second article. But before we move on to the second article, I want to say this first article says Senator James Patten said on X, formerly Twitter.
Like, he excreted some information.
This is where we're at now, right? Yeah. This is where we're at. So anyway, we get on to the second article.
So
auDA dismisses hack claims.
They did. So they dismissed the claim, saying that the source of the data breach was an Australian sole trader. Now that raised the question in my head again of why would an Australian sole trader have access to powers of attorney, legal documents and all that, so like all that data that they claim was in the initial hack. Unless that sole trader, it's unlikely, but it's either their own information or they work in a field that they consult in a field that requires access to that information, and it wasn't appropriately secured. So they say the source of the data breach was a sole trader with an Australian domain name. The sole trader's server was subject to a malware attack by the cyber criminal on the 10th of August 2023. They put a crypto locker on the machine and they sort of ransom payment, but it wasn't paid. And that was the end of the article. It's like there was no closeout on it or anything. It was just like, yep, look, it was a sole trader. Don't worry about it. It's not us.
Something's not adding up here.
No, there's something here.
This is fishy. Yeah.
There's a loose end here, and loose ends generally mean bad things.
Yeah, and they do name the cyber criminal. Can we just up the top here they say cyber criminals operating under the moniker No Escape. Now, can we just come on, guys? Can we just standardize this? Like handle, moniker, a screen name. Like, come on, guys. Can we just have a standard way of referring to this nom-de-plume?
It was always a handle. It was always your handle. Or I mean, back when you were on a bulletin board system, it used to be your alias. But,
alias, I mean, there's another one. Yeah,
but we still called them handles. I mean, and that's showing my age because, yes, I was on a bulletin board
from the 80s.
Yeah, when you used
from
to
the 80s,
dial into a BBS. Yeah, of course. Like working on teletext.
Avatar.
Oh, but that's the icon. That's your icon.
Yeah, but I've heard people refer to the name as an avatar as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna put it out there.
We'll hear from this again.
Anyway, well, no, when I post this episode on my LinkedIn, if anyone can respond to that post and put in there any other alternative names for screen name, alias, handle, moniker, if you come up with any others, then let me know, because I think we need a standard approach for this.
We might have to put a GitHub page together for it.
Don't make me.
I'll do it.
Yeah, we'll only expect the sec pull requests, if you want to add new ones.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, but we're going to watch this one because I smell a rat here.
Yep.
I really do. Yep.
Yeah. Speaking of people who've suffered the blows of cyber criminals this year.
And have tried to hose it down and it hasn't worked. Latitude Financial flags $76 million in cyber incident costs.
Yeah, so this is another one. We covered this when it first happened earlier this year. This is pre-tax, $76 million in pre-tax costs and provisions relating to the mid-March cyber incident, which saw about 250,000 customer records stolen. Which is, I mean, by all respects, they got away pretty lightly because you've only got to have a look at Medibank and they had a lot more stolen. And, of course, hose that one down as there's nothing happened here. But look, it recorded an actual spend of $53 million in post-tax costs as forecasted in its initial market guidance. And the managing director and CEO, Bob Bellin, was quoted as saying, "We're beginning to generate the right outcomes even against the backdrop of what I'd consider to be continued monetary policy tightening." Which is good. They've invested a large amount of money in refactoring systems and securing systems so that they're not vulnerable or as vulnerable as they were, which is good.
Yep. But it did hurt them. They say here for a period of 6 weeks, new origination stopped, receivables declined, pricing actions were paused, and collection activities were significantly disrupted.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So further on down the article, Bellin was quoted again as saying, during the first half of 2023, progress made on the integration of the Simple business and technology has been exceptional. So Simple Business, from what I read further, was an acquisition that they made in 2021. And so they were integrating all of the different systems that they've got. So now all new personal loans and auto loans are being originated on the new Simple platform. Mm-hmm. So they're decommissioning all the high-cost legacy systems that was causing. Well, that was the systems that were breached.
Because the thing is, once it's breached, you just don't know.
That's right.
Like once that cat's out of the bag, like you could never, unless you can do a full system restore from a point. But I don't know. These old mainframe systems is like. Well, how do you do that?
See, this is the thing. So, once upon a time, when I was at a previous job, I wrote the breach procedure that was there, which was literally a case of wipe the machine and start from scratch. Because I'm going to assume that if someone has breached a system that I manage, that they have been in there for far longer than I know. And I don't know how far back they've gone. So some of these state-based actors will sit in a system for months or years before making themselves known. And they're not just out for a quick buck. They'll sit in there and they'll just collect data and they'll collect a map of your environment. And then they just go through your environment slowly and surely.
Siphon off what they can.
Yep. And they do it slowly so you don't detect them. And on the off chance that you do, you don't know how long they've been there. So the safest solution is to wipe the machine and start again. It's a really, really hard thing to have to swallow. But honestly, it's not a risk you want to take, because if you restore a point in time, let's say you go back a week before it happened, before your breach happened.
Could have still been there.
Yeah, you could be restoring the malware that they use to get into your system.
Yep. Gives another little feather in the cap for things like Puppet and Ansible, right?
Yeah.
If you're building with that kind of automation, big deal. Blow the box away, just rebuild it from ground up.
Yeah.
With that, and you know where you stand.
Better yet, use containers. Don't have to worry about it.
don't even need to worry about that. That's it.
Nope.
Yep.
No, let someone breach your container. They're not going to do a huge amount of damage to your container because the minute it starts malfunctioning, it reboots. They're gone.
Yep. Unless you get a supply chain attack like we've seen in the past, but that's a whole other thing.
No, that's
right. Ballin said the company has taken steps to restructure and expand the executive leadership team as well, adding new members post-cyber incident. And you can bet that one of those executive leadership teams is the security guy, and they would be getting security reports.
Oh, 100%.
Directly to the executive.
100%.
And we've talked about them before you were the co-host, and I'm pretty sure that Dave and I, or maybe Vanita and I, talked about this, and these kind of reports should be going directly to the executive and saying, what is our status, our security status, where are we at, what are we doing to prevent these kind of breaches? They've got to take it more seriously.
Yep. Yeah, especially in this day and age.
All right, moving on. Just before we get to the AI wars, I thought I'd sneak this one in here. Article talking about the use cases for Google Cloud committed use discounts while we're on a finance tip. Now, first thing you probably should be aware of is committed use discounts are different to sustainable use discounts.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, just to clarify it, sustainable discounts are when you have a VM, for instance, up for a certain period of time, and then you will get a discount automatically applied. You don't have to do anything.
Yep,
you got it running for the period of the month; they will automatically give you a discount. Now, committed use discounts are different. Committed use discounts is where you make a payment up front on a resource on Google Cloud, and it's typically a 1 year or 3 year commitment that you make. You say, I'm going to use this resource for 3 years. You give Google that payment. They've got your money, yeah, but you can get a huge discount doing that.
Yeah, and it literally is a massive discount. Like you can save 60, 70% of the cost of running a VM for 3 years quite easily.
Now, I need to do this. I'm really slack at the moment. I'm just running it at the on-demand price. Just my personal web server. I need to go and do this because I know that web server is not going to go anywhere. I've moved it to Google Cloud. It's going to stay there. Cool. I should go and get myself some computed use discounts to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and whereas sustained use discounts they're the basic thing. You have the machine up for a month and Google gives you a small amount of money off because you use it for the entire month. Whereas, as you said, the committed use is you've got a 1 year commitment or you've got a 3 year commitment and you sign up for that and you pay your cash down on day dot. Yep.
Now, the two can be combined.
Yes.
Right. And you get now, I don't know if this is saying whether it's combined or not. No, just to go back to the actual discounts themselves, for 1 year, up to 28% can be taken off, and for 3 year, up to 46% can be taken off.
Yeah, that's right. And
amazing.
To your point before, you can blend them. So let's say you've got a brilliant use case for this is GCVE. You know that you need at least 6 hosts in GCVE.
It's expensive.
Yeah, it is expensive. So you go, I'm going to need 6 hosts for 3 years because it's going to take us 5 years to completely revamp our product or redesign it or whatever you're going to do with it. So you go, rightio, I'm going to get a committed use discount for 3 years on 6 hosts. And then you go, rightio, I'm going to use sustained use discounts for any extra that I need to spin up and down. So if you need 7 hosts for 6 months, then you pay the sustained use discount for that. And you still only pay for this. You've already paid your 3 years for the 6 original ones.
That's right. Now, this article is good because it goes through a list of use cases of why you would use CUDs. And they are steady state workloads. So obviously, if you've got machines that are going to be running and they're just running, doing their thing, perfect. You pay, and you're going to say 1 year or 3 years. You just pay the money up front. You've got them at that reduced rate for 3 years. In much the same vein, predictable workloads. In other words, you're not using sort of crazy cloud load balancers and spinning things up and down, and turning things on and off all the time. You just got it running the whole time. You got a perpetual web server that's there. That's what you want. You want to use a CUD. Predictable growth. If you know you've got a steady growth, then you can start to say, right, in this first 12 months we want this much, and the next 12 months we want to go this much again, and the next 12 months we want to go this much again. So that's another perfect use case.
And the point to that one is that you can do, let's say we stick with VMs because VMs are a nice simple concept for people to grasp. Let's say you need 50 VMs in your first year, and then the next year you might need 60 VMs. So what you do is put, and you know that you're going to need them for at least 5 years. You go, rightio, well, I'm going to put a 3-year CUD on the first 50, and then the next year when you come along and you go, oh, rightio, we have to add another 10 to this. Like we've been running 10 machines at sustained use discount for 3 months already. We know we're going to need these for at least 3 years. So you put three years on those next 10. So, and you can keep doing that, and it just staggers.
Now, to get on the next point here, you can combine, and we already touched on this, you can combine it with other pricing models such as sustained use discounts and preemptible VMs.
Yes.
Right? You get even cheaper, right, using preemptible VMs. Budget planning. Right, now this is a big one as well because cloud costs, I'm not going to say they can be unpredictable, but sometimes there are hidden factors that you're not aware of. And we've all heard about the cloud cost blowouts and the horror stories around people getting stupid bills. Yeah. If you're committing the funds in a CUD, you know where you stand.
Yep, that's it. And that helps the bean counters in companies love that. They love knowing exactly where they fit.
Yep. Now, looking at the other side of the coin here, reserved capacity, right? So you may oversubscribe a little bit. That way you know that you've got the headroom and it's still going to cost you that much for that 3-year period, right? So, and you've got a little bit of headroom as there to go along with it. That might be a strategy that suits you. And the last point here is a multi-year commitment. Google offers discounts for multi-year commitments, which can benefit organisations with long-term plans or projects. And I think we've touched on that one as well.
Yeah, and that helps Google too. From a planning and resourcing perspective, that helps Google a lot as well. So either of these CUD options helps Google because they know that you're going to use X amount of compute for X number of years. Whether that's 1 or 3 years, you're going to use that compute. And even if you don't use that compute, you're paying for it, so they've got it reserved for you. So
it helps them with their capacity plan.
That's right, yeah. So, and the reserve capacity, now this was an argument that I put forward to a business before I joined Casna, in that we have developer workstations or a development environment that gets shut down of an afternoon and then fired back up in the morning. Now, that development environment is like 25 VMs. We really need to pay a committed use discount for it. Because even though you're shutting it down at 8 o'clock at night and firing it back up in the morning, it's still costing you more to run it than it would if you committed to the use of it for 24 hours, 7 days a week for 1 year.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's just a simple maths problem there, right? Like you put the two in a spreadsheet and you line them up and you go, which one's cheapest? And you go with the cheaper one. It's not hard. Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, it was... Look, the proposal that I put forward never came off because people were like, no, because we're paying for it but what happens when it shuts down? We're wasting that money. And I'm like, but it's costing you more to have to shut it down than just to leave it running.
Yeah, it's cheaper. And not only that, you might get some unexpected benefits by having it on 24 hours, People might feel a little bit more flexible with the work that they can do and the hours they want to work. And then you've got the environment available at times when, you wouldn't have thought you might need it.
Yeah, that's
emergencies. Right. Yeah. Anyway, there you go. Seven use cases for Google Cloud committed use discounts.
Yeah, cool article, that one.
Yeah. Should we do it?
Let's do it.
Should we move on with the AI Wars? All right. This week's AI Wars sort of have a bit of a theme. It sort of seems to be in relation to corporate use of large language models. We'll kick the things off here with, we might just say things have slowed down.
Oh, they have.
Things have slowed down. I don't know if it's a media cycle thing or what, but the buzz has disappeared around AI. The buzz has really disappeared.
Well, Next is on shortly, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of AI talk, so it'll pick back up.
It'll pick back up again. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. So yeah, we had to sort of dig for these ones, but this is interesting because we've talked about this on the show before, and the potential of corporates and enterprises using trained language models to assist them in, all their policies and all their documents and all the things that they have, rather than having to be like a font of knowledge and scour all those documents. You just feed them all into a large language model and you can just ask it basic questions. What's our policy on blah? And bang, you get an answer from it. And that is more or less what Suncorp is starting to do.
Yeah.
They're saying we're already starting to have a look at some of those and starting to localize some of the ChatGPT Foundation models to see how we can do sentiment analysis on call transcriptions and things like that, and understand if our customers are happy with us. So they're doing it on calls. Now, Google has been doing this for a while.
Yeah, well, they've got a right. In their voice recognition software, they actually have a sentiment parameter that comes back, or a sentiment result that comes back. Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things that they're doing. The article does go on to talk about, their integration of large language models with their, corporate documentation. But this did catch me out because this is not new. Sentimental analysis is not new, but it seems to be new to them. And funnily enough, this article also has generative AI is just an example of that. If I had a drink every time I heard GenAI during my work week, I wouldn't make it past lunchtime.
Game on. Let's go. That's Exactly. Look, the term gets thrown around a lot. It really does. Yep. It's a buzzword. It's the shiny new toy in the industry at the moment. But I do see, and I've said this before, I think it has a very valid place, assuming that it's used safely with the right ethos around it.
Yeah.
The idea of using a generative AI to, we talked about insurance industry with TAL, to generate documents or to process claims and that sort of stuff, fantastic.
Yep.
If you're going to use it to do nefarious things, then
not so good.
Not going to be as happy with you.
Yeah, so Suncorp have already positioned themselves, right? So they spent the last 4 years moving data from on-premises into data warehouse, one that's cloud-based. So they're already gearing up for it. And they've got business intelligence teams and tools looking at that data, which is exactly perfect use case, right? And they do go on to say that it's no longer acceptable to have, a static dashboard to pull this data in and just look at it. Static dashboards updated at every 24 hours. I go and look at my super and they give me an estimate of what my super's worth. That's only updated like every 24 days or something, right?
It's once
give
a
me
month.
Something. Give me something dynamic, right? So this is the kind of thing they're talking about. And so they're looking at, live dashboards for that kind of thing rather than sort of batch-driven stuff.
Yeah. So one of the things actually I noticed in this article was that with they're building on AI foundations. They're using the data. Suncorp has previously used data to predict where our customers were going to be impacted by floods.
Yes.
So they've used that data combined with the customer's policies to understand where they are in an immediate impact zone and were already impact, or where they actually going to be in a zone which was going to be impacted, which is cool. Yep. Like this is where I think AI is really going to help civilizations to become a little bit more resilient.
Yeah. I bet you they use that to make decisions on their premium prices as well.
Yeah, more than likely.
Yeah. So it's good. It's good to see in a way. This is doing more with less in a way. If computers can do a lot of this work, then that's hopefully it makes things better, faster, cheaper in the long run. If they're good, if they're ethical with the data that they have.
Yep.
And so I asked myself the question, how would they be doing this? Well, I'm not, this next article, Contextual AI and Google Cloud partner to bring GenAI to the enterprise. This might be the kind of thing that they are using to do this. Although they did say they're using ChatGPT, but it'd be similar, obviously.
Yep.
Contextual AI, the company building AI that works for work, today announced a strategic partnership with Google Cloud as its preferred cloud provider to build, run, and scale its growing business to train its large language models for the enterprise. Now, this is based on NVIDIA H100 and A100 Tensor Core GPUs. We talked about those a few weeks ago. And what does it do? Contextual AI enables enterprises to unlock the true potential of AI by grounding language models in their internal knowledge bases and data sources. Built on Google Cloud, contextual language models, CLMs, will craft responses that are tailored to an enterprise's data and institutional knowledge, which results in higher accuracy, better compliance, less hallucination, and the ability to trace answers back to source documents. I like it.
That's it.
I like it.
Yep. Repeatable and traceable.
Yep. I like it. Having worked in a large enterprise, you would say Telstra is a large enterprise, probably one of the largest in the company. I can tell you the amount of documentations, policies, procedures, that internal intranet was full of stuff, right? And trying to find the right person to do the right thing or like the right process to do something, it was a nightmare, and it made things extremely difficult. And if you're a Telstra customer and you've ever had to report a problem or talk to someone and then you get the runaround and you get different answers from different people all the time.
That's why.
This is why. Yep. That's what's going on. And it's not only Telstra, it's other large enterprises. That's the sort of thing that's going on inside.
Yeah. And look, my older brother used to work at Telstra. He worked there for 17 or 18 years, something like that, in the elongated provisioning section. So he would get provisioning is where you get a phone line provision to your house. Elongated provisioning is where Telstra can't complete that for one of many different reasons.
Yeah.
One of which might be that you're like 10 kilometres from the nearest mains or something like that that's running down the street. Or you might be 100 kilometres away. And he used to cop flack from people all the time because they keep quoting that, and he said this is one of the things that he heard all the time was, you get different answers from different people every single time you ring.
Yep.
And that's...
Yep. Because they've got some old information that was a policy from 10 years ago, or they've read the wrong thing, or they've just made something up because they heard it from someone else.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if you could just go to the large language, you could just go to your chat GPT and just plug the thing in and it says, this is the answer, but it gives you the buts and you get a consistent answer.
Here's the caveats, and here's the general answer to your question.
Yep. And then all you need is a team that's sort of grooming that information and training it and weeding out, incorrect data and populating fresh data all the time, right?
Yeah.
And then everyone gets the same answers.
Well, see, and this is where I think the option of putting this out into the public is a good idea, because if you've, like for Telstra, for instance, if you've got a knowledge base of answers there and you feed them into your large language model, and you release that ability to question that database of policies to the wild, out into the wild, you can see the responses that the AI has given to the public, and then you can vet that. You can have people actually vetting that against the policy documents,
against the facts,
and then correcting it as required.
Yep.
It's the same as what Google's done it. Apple has been doing it for years. Your voice recordings where you ask Google to do something or ask Siri to do something, your voice recordings are sent back to the company and they listen to what you've asked and listen to what the answer that the AI has given, and they correct that. And I had a friend of mine who used to vet those for Apple in Australia because we apparently have a very weird accent.
We apparently do. Now, this is all done, just as an interesting little tidbit, this is all done with a technology called RAG, R-A-G, Retrieval Augmented Generation. It's a technique that underpins contextual AI, text-generating AI technologies. RAG, and the reason I mention it is because it's specific and allows enterprise customers to build custom language models on top of their data, ensuring that data remains secure using external sources to generate responses that take context into consideration.
That's cool.
So that's the technique they're using it to build on top of their data. RAG, R-A-G. Yeah, so I thought that would be a good one to look at, given that Suncorp is starting to do this. But Meta are back in the. We almost forgot about Meta.
Yeah, they're back in the game now.
Back in the game. I mean, they kicked things off, right? Yeah. Really?
Well, they kicked it off with the open source anyway.
That's it. Meta releases AI model for translating speech. Now, Google's doing this as well. Has done this for a while as well.
Yeah, their voice recognition API has been doing this for ages.
But the difference is here, Meta is officially making the model available to the public for non-commercial use.
Not just by accident?
Right. Not just leaking accident, no, making it. The article does go on to say the world's biggest social media company has released a flurry of mostly free AI models this year, including the large language model called Llama. I don't know if that was intentional or not. That pose a serious challenge to proprietary models sold by OpenAI and Google.
Yeah, well, because Llama was the one that the open source community took and ran with it, and yep. Because it had virtually no feedback loops or anything in it when it was first dropped, and so the open source community's gone back and they've got feedback loops in it and they've fleshed out everything.
Reflection and all of that. Yeah. That's just grown, and we probably need to do an update on that actually, because we had all those other language models spin out of it now, and we tested some of them on the show on that, but we probably need to do an update on where we are with that.
Yeah, definitely
in the coming weeks. I just haven't got time to tinker at the moment. Now, an interesting point by the way, the company said the blog post that it's so that the model they're releasing is called the Seamless M4T model, and it could support translations between text and speech in nearly 100 languages, as well as full speech to text, as well as full speech to speech translation for 35 languages.
That's cool.
They're nice.
Yeah,
that's nice, and they've released this for non-commercial use, so you can go and get that and use it. Now, interestingly, this article, this is what I was going to say a second ago, in July, comedian Sarah Silversman and two other authors filed copyright infringement lawsuits against both Meta and OpenAI, accusing the companies of using their books as training data without permission.
Yeah, so, and this is interesting because the next paragraph on from that says that Meta researchers said in a research paper they gathered audio training data from 4 million hours of raw audio originating from a publicly available repository of crawled web data without specifying which repository.
Right. So it was an audio book that was available, I'm going to assume available for free in some repository.
Or has been downloaded and illegally published in some repository,
somewhere.
perhaps.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now, they're using an audio version of it, right? They've obtained somehow. Now, think about this. Now, I'm an individual. I go and buy a book, right? I pay for that book. I use said book. I train my brain by reading said book, right? If you're to do the same thing, if you're to go and buy the book, pay the license, train your model with that license, what's the difference?
So I think there's a commercial agreement difference there in that as a private user, you're buying the book for your private use. It's much the same as once upon a time we used to go and hire a DVD or a VHS. There's a different license fee associated with them. So you can
about commercial use.
Yeah, you can go to your local JB Hi-Fi or whatever store and buy a DVD, and it might cost you $30 or something like that. I don't know. I haven't bought a DVD.
What?
I don't know. I don't know.
DV.
Yeah. One of those things. Yeah. It's like a round thing, and you put it in some device, and it plays some stuff on your computer. It's sort of like does the same thing that Netflix does, but you've got to do lots of legwork.
I see. Okay. And then it might play it if it's not scratched.
Yeah, if it's not scratched. If your son hasn't tried to stick a bit of toast in the drawer. But anyway, so you might buy that DVD for, let's say, $30. I don't know what they cost these days. Whereas if I was running a video shop, let's say Blockbuster or Video 2000, to bring back some names that we haven't heard in like 2 decades, that feed or that video might cost me $100 for the same thing, exactly the same case, same everything. But it's because I'm on selling it.
It's a commercial license, right? But Meta haven't even done that. No. They've just pulled, like a lot of these training algorithms done. They've just scraped the data from somewhere and just shoved it into their model.
Well, it's the same as GitHub Copilot. Yeah. Remember when that first came out? It was scraping a whole heap of private repositories and using that data as suggestions. And it wasn't until Microsoft got called out on it that they went, oh, yeah, actually.
It was the non-attribution that was the problem of GPL code. Yeah. Yep.
So, look, there's bound to be hiccups here and there with this. As long as Meta's going to deal with it appropriately, like they're not just going to sweep it under the carpet and go, look, we're a multi-billion-dollar company, you can get stuffed. As long as they're going to deal with it and go, oh, yeah, look, okay, yeah, no, we grabbed that. Sorry, here's some money.
That might be all it is.
That's it.
That might be all it needed. Just a commercial license to pay for that.
Yep.
Done.
Like if I was that author, I would be exactly that. It's like, look, you've used my book without paying the royalty. You need to pay me some money. And I'm happy for them to use it as long as I'm getting the royalty for it, because that's your job.
Yep. That's absolutely. I've got no absolutely. Yeah. That's I mean, we're seeing it everywhere. AI music's the same thing, right? Like they just go to YouTube, scrape all the songs and put in your data set, and they're not getting attributed for that, right?
Although Google does have a very good detection algorithm there for detecting when you're using music from specific artists. So there's a signature that's put into the music somehow, and I don't know much of the detail behind it, but there's a signature in it somehow where if you use a piece of music in your videos, Google can detect that piece of music is from a specific artist and then automatically flag that with the artist.
Yep. It's the Python script that runs in the background and detects the songs. Yes. Many YouTube channel has fallen foul of that.
Yep.
So watch this space. We'll see what Meta's doing, but they're just trying to scramble and play with the big boys. That's how it seems. But if they're contributing to the open source part of it, then that's great. That's what we want to say.
Yep, 100%.
All right. Well, I'm seeing well over an hour on the timer here, Ian, and I think we've gone on quite enough.
Correct.
At the moment.
Correct. It is definitely time to go and say hello to my son, who should be home from school by now, and get on with just finish off this Apogee training.
Yeah, good luck with that. Look, guys, don't forget to go to iTunes, write a review for the show to really help the show out. You can contact the show, gcplife@casna.com. We've got the website there. Soon, Mastodon server, Ian.
Yes,
I hope
very
so.
soon.
Yes,
very soon. Give me some.
Very soon.
Yep.
And of course, don't forget GCP Life Live, 6th of October in Sydney. You'll get to see us and learn a few things and have a bit of a laugh as well. It's going to be great.
Definitely the laugh.
And of course, yeah, that's right. And of course, today's sponsor is Casna. At Casna, we make your Google Cloud solutions possible. That's about it from me. Anything from you, Ian?
No, mate. Have a great fortnight, and we'll be back in a fortnight.
We'll be back in a fortnight. See you later. Bye. You only had a minute of recording before. Hey, I don't know if we've got enough outtakes. We'll see.